Today on WATV News, we investigate the stranded Alaskan Winterim bus situation. We give you all the details about our Spiritual Life Week. We report on a local woman's prestigious award. And finally, we learn about one math teacher's love of reading and writing. This is WATV News. Good morning, everyone. I'm Tyler Abrams. Welcome to our 17th episode of the year and our second of the semester. It's January 31st, and we're stuck in the middle of winter. With highs of only 20 degrees, this weather probably feels like Florida to our Alaska Winterim group. For our headline report this morning, I, along with Gabby Mitchell, took a deep dive into one of the more significant stories from the Alaska Winterim trip.
An Alaskan trip that quickly turned into a grand adventure. This past Winterim, students had the opportunity to travel to Alaska in one of Wheaton Academy's many nationwide trips. However, this winter trip in Alaska came with below freezing temperatures, wild blizzards, a bus full of students stuck off the road, all topped off by astronomical phenomena. Mrs. Roberts and Mr. Tollefson give their perspective on what was probably the most unexpected and unforgettable moment of the trip.
So we went to the Arctic Circle from Fairbanks, and it's about a 6-hour trip by bus. And so about 20 minutes on the return trip, we hear the bus driver start to yell, and he had some colorful language.
I was like, oh, something's going on. And then we ran into a snowbank and got stuck.
And basically what happened is the wind was blowing so hard, it blew drifts into the road, and it pulled the bus off into the ditch. And we got stuck.
We couldn't get out the door wouldn't open because the snow was piled up. And so our tour guide, Jason, went into action mode, and he was like, well, this just turned Alaska.
And so yeah, we were stuck for about an hour and 15 minutes. It was a little scary. The students did great. They were laughing. They're like, oh, this adds to our Alaskan adventure. I was calm, but in my mind, I was getting a little worried.
Eventually, our tour guide again, rock star, he stopped another oil rig and set up these 5-inch straps that tied to the oil rig to our bus. And they finally pulled us out. As we kept driving, a couple of students noticed that the northern lights were out. So they stopped the bus and we got out, and it was the most beautiful northern lights display we had seen that week. It
was absolutely beautiful, and I probably teared up a little bit once I got out there and looked, and we've kind of come to believe that if we hadn't gotten stuck, we wouldn't have seen that amazing view of the northern lights.
It was almost as if God needed us to wait an hour so that he could show us this beautiful display. And so it was just a really cool God thing to be able to have that story and then see God's beautiful creation up in the sky and have a story to tell.
You'd never imagined that being stuck in an Alaskan blizzard would lead to something as spectacular as the Aurora Borealis. But it turns out that was a blessing in disguise. Now let's turn things over to Emerson Massey for our weekly Sports Zone. Hi, Emerson.
Hi, Tyler, and what's up, everybody? My name's Emerson Massey, and I'm here to catch you all up on the latest sports news. Let's start with our girls basketball program. Following a tough 1-point loss to Chicago Christian on Tuesday, the Warriors took on Bishop Mac in the second time as many weeks. The game began with the fire alarm and ended with Warriors smoking the Fighting Irish by 15. Olivia Rendi led the soccer scores with 14 points, while Abby Schroeder once again led the team in rebounds. The girls played twice away this week, followed by a game in the Warrior Dome on Thursday night against Elmwood Park at 7 p.m. The boys basketball team had a rough week, losing both of their games against Rolling Meadows, and the boys had a balanced scoring attack with Cole leading the team with 10 points. Sam Anderson contributed 5 assists in the game, and playing at Timothy Christian's homecoming game, the Warriors and the Trojans were tied at 36. Before Timothy went off on a 20-10 run at the end of the game, the boys play at the home on Friday night against Aurora Christian. The game will start at 7:30. And finally, wrestling enters its final week in the season. The boys will travel to Sandwich, Illinois for the regional matches this Saturday. Check out our Instagram at TheRealWATV for score updates throughout the day. That's all we got for this week. Back to you, Tyler.
Thanks, Emerson. We don't have community time or advisory groups next week, But instead, our Spiritual Life Week will include chapels over all 5 days. Reporter Alina Imersek gives us more.
Spiritual Life Week gives students a unique opportunity to hear from influential speakers every day of the week. Although many of us have not experienced this transformational week due to COVID, it is back this year, beginning February 7 and continuing through the 12th. Mr. Hogan, the Dean of Chapel, says, quote, "I am excited for Spiritual Life Week, as it provides an intentional time for us to focus on an aspect of our spiritual lives. This year, the theme for Spiritual Life Week is rooted, and this stems from our true identity in Christ. A special thanks to Lily English, who designed our posters. Our speakers for the week are Hannah Gronowski and Chris Reed, concluding with Jana Dukes leading our worship night and Friday's chapel. Students can participate in our 8 a.m. prayer breakfast on Wednesday, featuring Pop-Tarts in the Commons, a worship night on Thursday at 7 p.m., and an offering for Kids Alive on Friday. This upcoming week is designed to reignite the fire of your faith. So pray for God to move, prepare your hearts to receive, and be expectant for all that God has for Spiritual Life Week 2022. For WATV News, this is Alina Imersek and photographer Nicholas Pereira signing out.
Thanks, Alina. Now let's get you caught up on some announcements, with the first two related to Alina's report on Spiritual Life Week. Next week, we'll have a special schedule, and you can find it under the calendar tab of the Wheaton Academy website. We're going to have chapel every day, and as Alina stated in her report, on that Friday, we will have a special offering for kids we sponsor in both Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Prayerfully consider what you might be able to contribute to this important work. Mr. Wah applications are still being accepted until February 9th. Contact Mrs. Gregerson or Mr. Fritz for more information. With the spring musical less than a month away, now's the time to start thinking about joining a crew. There will be a meeting for anyone interested in being part of stage crew tomorrow during lunch at room 127. Grab your lunch and join Ms. Spitler there. And continuing with the theme of musical, Frederick Rasky reports on another crew that is vital to the experience of the musical and is always looking for more student help.
Hello, I'm Frederick Rasky, reporting for WATV, and today we'll take a look at what goes behind the scenes for the upcoming spring play. We all love the iconic plays at Wheaton Academy, our latest one being The Amazing Little Woman, but have you ever wondered where the sets of our plays come from? It's none other than the construction crew, which is led by Mr. Burek. I interviewed him and found out that he had been doing construction crew for almost 15 to 20 years, with his first ever play being Beauty and the Beast in 2005. Mr. Burek stated that he loves helping students, and it's super satisfying to teach them how to build and improve their skills over the years. It's also rewarding to build a set with students to see what our students can do as they learn skills that they can use for the rest of their lives. Construction crew meet every weekday except Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m., as well as Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the FAC. No requirements to join. There will be proper training for tools as well as painting. Contact Mr. Burek if you want to be a part of the construction crew that brings our plays to life. For WATV News, I'm Frederick Rasky.
Thanks, Frederick. Now today we are joined by Osa Iroko to give us our studio report on some statewide news that happened in Aurora last week. Thanks for joining us today, Osa.
Thanks for having me, Tyler. Marcela Acevedo, better known as Hala Pala, recently got recognized by the mayor of Aurora last Tuesday for her exceptional work for providing for the homeless. Hala Pala, founder of HP24 and More Ministries, appears with free, warm, homemade food when sub-zero temperatures hit. She has taken on an incredible challenge of providing food, warmth, and shelter to everyone in the Aurora area. She has earned the Mayor's Award of Excellence, the highest award a mayor can give. She has been quoted with saying Hala Pala's one condition for being at the Aurora City Council meeting Tuesday night was that she would be able to make it to the warming center on time to feed the people in need. It's not just about the meal, she said. It's about sitting there and talking to them and listening to their testimony.
Thanks again, Osa. For our last story, reporter Sienna Davis and photographer Isabel Kelch sat down with math teacher and basketball coach Mr. Smith to talk about one of his latest endeavors. writing his own novel.
Stories bring people together. Mr. Smith is a math teacher here at Wheaton Academy who has a passion for writing that you may not have known about.
My book is about 5 guys who are going on a trip for a senior trip. And their plane crashes in the forest in an undisclosed location, and they stumble across an old man who they find out is immortal. And he can only regain his immortality every 1,000 years if he finds the Fountain of Youth. And the Fountain of Youth bounces around the globe. So these guys go on an adventure with him to see if they can find the Fountain of Youth in time for him to save his immortality. I didn't get into writing because I'm a wordsmith or I love crafting. I just love stories. I've always been an avid reader, avid movie watcher, and I had this idea of a really cool story, and I just had to put pen to paper. I started writing this in 2012 when I was actually living overseas in Bulgaria, and I had time off, and I just started writing. My wife has been kind of my main encourager, and what she actually did, and I want to show this. I only have one copy of my book. It's this one. She got this for me for my birthday without me knowing. She kind of took what I had, sent it to her brother, who's a graphic designer who made this freaking sweet cover, and then she gave me this copy just as kind of like a, hey, you can make this dream happen. And my hope is it's close to being done. I just need to kind of do some final editing. Editing's expensive. So I'm trying to get creative with ways to maybe do a Kickstarter where you pre-order the book, so you pay ahead of time. I can use that money to get it professionally edited and then just send out all of my copies. I'm trying to brainstorm that idea.
Over Winterim, Mr. Smith taught the class The Anatomy of a Story, where students had the opportunity to learn why stories are so important.
This was year 2 of teaching Anatomy of a Story, and year 1 was phenomenal. I met students that I never knew, and really quickly when you're writing and sharing your writing, like it's kind of a vulnerable kind of space. So we really built connections, got to know each other, and there's some incredible writers in this place, incredible storytellers.
I think the power of stories lies in its characters, because characters give you the emotional aspect, and because of that, the audience is able to connect with them and the story.
Everybody has a unique perspective that only they can share with the world. And so I think everyone needs to try to tap into that.
That will do it for today. Thanks for joining us. Connect with us on Instagram at @TheRealYTV, or scan this QR code and send us your best story ideas. We got some really good suggestions last week, and as we roll credits, we will leave you with the sweet sounds of our ukulele Winterim class. From all of us at Studio 22, have a great day.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion